Hello class. I chose to sign up for Address Circuit. Address Circuit, just very easy. It's the speaker, addressee, and purpose within a poem. The speaker, well, all poems have a voice, and this voice can be called the speaker. An addressee is just that all poems have a silent or implied listener or reader. That's the addressee. The purpose within a poem is what it's there for, the reason you're reading it. A poem captures thoughts, ideas, feelings, impressions, experiences, and incidents, but sometimes also poems tell a story. So very easy. Speaker is a voice, the voice of the poem. The addressee is the silent or implied listener, and the purpose is basically why you're reading it. So I chose an example from Gardner's book of T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. And so I chose this because it's pretty long, and the notes from the person within the book looked like they were pretty confused about it, and I thought I understood it. I also thought it was very funny that I could relate to the farcical character within the poem. So I did a little research on the poem. The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, it turns out this wasn't actually the original title. The original title was Prufrock Among the Women. So that will give some clues as to what this is really all about. And Prufrock is just two words, made up name. It's a farcical name, it turns out. The author was doing it on purpose, T.S. Eliot. He was putting both prude and frock together in the same word. So the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock was on purpose, and just basically a prudish man wearing a frock, or as we'll see, a collar mounted firmly to the chin, necktie rich and modest, asserted with a simple pin. This is referenced a couple times, but that would be the frock, I guess. So it starts out, it makes it really easy for the speaker and the addressee. The first line says, "Let us go then, you and I." And you would be the addressee, and I would be the speaker or the voice. I believe that this is set up in a way that you would watch a TV show. So you're in on the joke and you're here along with the character, the protagonist. But through living the life with them, maybe you'll draw some conclusions for yourself. This is getting more towards the purpose. So time seems to go on in this poem, places come and go, and women are brought up time and again with the indecisiveness of this character, this J. Alfred Prufrock. So it's sort of a comedy and also a tragedy at the same time, because this poor man, he seems to want to talk to the women, but he doesn't get anywhere. So let us go then, you and I, and I'm going to skip some. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights and one-night cheap hotels, and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. So it seems to be a dichotomy somewhat. Restless nights sounds pretty exciting, but the fact that they're in cheap hotels does not. Sawdust restaurants, it sounds to me like sheetrock, just cheapy, put up in a day sort of strip mall locations, but with oyster shells. So, ooh, fancy, you're living. So you and I, let's go and make our visit. In the room, the women come and go. talking of Michelangelo. So there's women around, and they're talking about Michelangelo, this man that seems to want to be a fancy person. They're talking of Michelangelo, so maybe right up his alley. But then he just dawdles on and goes about random stuff about chimneys and window panes and fog and October nights, houses and how they fall asleep, and how there'll be time. There's always time. There's time for more smoke that slides up the streets, and there will be time. There will be time to prepare to meet faces that you meet, and there will be time to murder and create, and time for all the works and days of hands, time for you and time for me, and time for 100 indecisions and 100 visions and revisions. And then he comes back to the women. In the room, the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. So he's still enticed by these women. All these things that are going on in his life, and life in general is just randomness everywhere. There's so much going on, but hey, there's these women. And the title of this poem is After All, the Love Song. And indeed there will be time to wonder, do I dare? And do I dare? And I think he means, does he dare to speak to these women that he's interested in? No, time to turn back. And it doesn't say no, but I'm assuming time to turn back and descend the stair. So he just goes right back around and he doesn't talk to these women. And he thinks, they'll say my hair is too thin. There's a balding spot on the back of my head. But I have this morning coat on and a necktie, and it's rich, yet modest. And it started with a simple pin. So he should be approachable. He should have some worth to speak to these women, but he doesn't. Do I dare disturb the universe, disturb these women? Now they'll say my arms and legs are thin. For I have known them all already, known them all. Have known the evenings, mornings, afternoons. So this man, he lives it up. But he measures his life out with coffee spoons. So every day is exactly the same. He knows what to expect. This man doesn't take risks. And should I then presume? It sounds like he wants to. And how should I begin? How does he take these risks? He doesn't know. So much randomness thrown through this poem. It's long, and what's really going on, and where's the story leading? He references himself, politic, cautious, meticulous. He's full of high sentence, but a bit obtruse. So he speaks eloquently, but people they can't read him. So he's kind of held at bay by them. They're not accepting, and maybe he's not accepting of himself. So that's what happens. At times, indeed, almost ridiculous. I think he's speaking of himself. Almost at times, the fool. So he's high sentence, a bit obtruse, almost ridiculous, almost the fool. Again, he just wears on himself. Shall I wear my hair behind? Do I dare to eat a peach? It seems like people nowadays, should I eat this or that? This gluten-free thing, this thing with sugar, that peach. I shall wear flannel trousers and walk upon the beach. I have heard the mermaids singing each to each other. I don't think he's talking about real mermaids. I think he's talking about the people on the beach and the women that he wants to talk to. And he wants to be among these fun people having random times. I do not think they will sing to me. His conclusion. We have lingered in the chambers of the sea, by sea girls wreathed with seaweed, red and brown, all kinds of different girls, till human voices wake us, and we drown. So, in the end, he's just going to die. And he's measuring his life in coffee spoons. And so you watch this character, this speaker, and through watching the speaker as the addressee, you get the purpose of the poem, the feelings, the impressions. You experience his incidents, and so the poem tells a story. And that is my address circuit, and hopefully instructing on what a speaker is, an addressee, and the purpose in a poem through T.S. Eliot's love song. So thank you.